My grandma's weekend treasure hunts felt magical until I saw what was in her basement. Every summer from when I was 6 until I was 12, my grandma would pull up before sunrise like we were on a mission. Her beat-up station wagon was stuffed with an old metal detector, a couple shovels, a cooler, and thick rubber gloves that went almost to her shoulders. She'd tell my parents, "We're doing local history," and my dad would laugh and wave us off, but my mom would stand in the doorway and ask, "Where exactly are you going?" Grandma would smile and say, "We'll be back Sunday night," then wink at me like it was our secret. I felt like the luckiest kid alive. Back then, I believed every word. In her basement, she had a whole headquarters. Maps were taped to the walls with colored pins and circles. Folders were stacked in rows, labeled with street names. Before we left, she'd spread maps across the table and tap spots with her finger. "Old trading post," she'd whisper. "Merchants hid gold during raids. The Patterson barn. The empty lot by the creek. That one's a sure thing." She'd hand me a crumpled list of addresses in her shaky handwriting and tell me to guard it. We'd drive around all day, the detector rattling in the back, and the second it beeped, she'd grab my shoulders. "This is it, sweetie. The big one." Then we'd dig. Parks, vacant lots, fields behind stores, and sometimes front yards when the owners weren't home. She'd make me freeze and listen for doors or barking dogs. She'd scan the street first, then hiss, "Quick," like other treasure hunters were watching. I'd hold the flashlight, scoop dirt with my hands, and feel my heart pounding. If someone walked by, Grandma would snap the detector off and shove it under a blanket. "Don't stare," she'd mutter. "They'll steal our spot." Once, a guy slowed his car and looked at us, and Grandma smiled sweetly and said, "School project," like nothing was strange. After he left, she leaned close and whispered, "Harold said it's here. He buried it right here." I didn't ask who Harold was. I just nodded and dug deeper. Most of what we found was junk. Bottle caps, bent nails, rusty screws, old pennies that were green around the edges. Grandma would lift each piece like it was priceless. "Look at the markings," she'd say, turning a broken spoon in the sunlight. She'd snap a Polaroid, write the date, and make me hold the baggie while she scribbled notes in a leather notebook. At lunch, she'd spread a blanket, hand me a sandwich, and tell me stories about brave treasure hunters and secret stashes. If I got tired and asked to go home, she'd stiffen and say, "Just one more spot. We're so close." Then she'd start talking fast about another family, another house that used to be there, another barn that had been torn down. Some weekends were fun. Some weekends felt weird, like the rules kept changing. Grandma would get mad if the detector stayed quiet. She'd pace, dig random holes, then slam the shovel into the dirt and whisper, "It has to be here." If I asked what we were looking for, she'd lean in and say, "Our savings. Harold hid it so nobody could take it." That sounded serious, so I stopped asking. When I was 12, my mom said I was too old to dig, so the trips slowed down. I still thought they were the best summers of my life. Last year, Grandma died after years of memory problems, and I helped clean out her house. I went down to the basement, expecting history books and maps, and maybe a few cool old coins. The folders were still there, but when I opened them, my stomach dropped. They weren't research. They were obituaries of people from our neighborhood. Names of neighbors I remembered, clipped from newspapers, some dated 20 years back. The maps weren't old town records at all. They were phone book pages and printed street maps with random addresses circled. In her closet, we found boxes labeled treasure, and inside were hundreds of metal objects from our trips, but also things we never found together. Wedding rings, family photos, a class ring, a set of silverware with someone else's initials, even a few dental crowns in a plastic cup. I stood there holding a photo of strangers, and my hands started shaking. Then my aunt handed me a folder from Grandma's medical papers. The diagnosis said early dementia, dated about 15 years ago, right when our expeditions started. Suddenly, every weekend replayed in my head, but different. The whispering, the rushing, the way she watched people like they were enemies, the way she kept saying Harold told her where it was. I'd spent 6 years thinking I was helping my cool grandma hunt lost gold when I was really following a confused woman into strangers' yards, digging for something that only existed in her failing mind. I closed the box, sat on the basement floor, and stared at the dirt still stuck under.